Okay, we're going to call this meeting order to the Montclair City Council. I appreciate everybody being here this nice daylight evening. And we will begin our meeting with the invocation of the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to ask the city clerk to please announce those individuals.
Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Roger Vega of Montclair Christian Church, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Martinez.
Great. Please join us for the invocation, Pastor.
Okay, please approach the podium. Thank you.
Amen. It's a joy to be here tonight. Let us pray. Father, we thank you so much for the city of Montclair. Lord, we take this time to pray for our mayor, for our council members, Lord, for our police department, fire department, and all who serve this city, Lord. Your word says that we are to work for the well-being of our city and pray for it because our welfare depends on the welfare of our city, Lord. And so tonight we thank you for the ability to serve our people, to serve this community, and to share your grace and your good news with all in this community. We thank you for the proceedings tonight, and we ask for you to be our guidance and our light as we work through the city's issues tonight. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we please have a roll call?
Councilmember Lopez.
I'm here.
Councilmember Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Rue.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
I'm here.
And Mayor Dutray.
Here.
Thank you.
So we'll now do our presentations of introduction of new police officers. I'm going to ask our chief to come up, and then we'll come down.
Good evening, members of council, city staff, city manager Starr. It's my pleasure once again to be standing in front of all of you to introduce two of our newest police officers. We've been hiring several great candidates, and these two are definitely an example of that. So without further ado, I'll call our first officer up, Officer Bruno Parra Camacho. Officer Parra was born in Mexico and immigrated to the United States in 1984, where he attended high school at John C. Fremont in Los Angeles and graduated with academic honors. After graduation, Officer Parra enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, where he served 4 years, rising to the rank of sergeant. After his military time, Officer Parra attended Los Angeles Pierce College, where he studied to become a veterinarian, and was employed with the Santa Monica Police Department as an animal control officer for 8 years with that agency. During this time as an animal control officer, Officer Parra had multiple positive encounters with Santa Monica police officer partners, and he decided that inspired him to pursue a career in law enforcement. Now, he did make the correct decision to come to Montclair and not stay out in Santa Monica, so sorry, Santa Monica PD, but Officer Parra completed his academy at the Orange County Sheriff's Department in 2017 and started his first law enforcement career as an officer with UCLA Police Department that same year. Officer Parra has been married for 11 years to his wonderful wife and has 3 children who he enjoys spending time with, in addition to coaching their soccer team. So with everybody, I introduce to you our new officer, Bruno Parra. Congratulations, buddy. And now I'd like to call up our brand new officer, Officer Joel Wood. Officer Wood came to us without a background in law enforcement, and he decided to pursue his dream in law enforcement. We swore him in this morning. It was a good ceremony. He graduated June 13th, 2012 from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Academy, Class 235. I'm somewhat saddened by that because I was Class 140, so it's coming up on 100 classes since so I feel a little old because of that, but thank you for that. So Officer Wood was born in Peoria, Illinois in 1989. His family relocated to SoCal in early 1990, and in 97, Officer Wood moved to Lake Elsinore with his mother and stepfather. Officer Wood's upbringing was marked with his passion for boating, competitive motorcycle racing, and open desert and motocross type competitions. He graduated from Los Osos High School and furthers his education at UTI in Rancho Cucamonga, where he earned a certificate in general automotive service and was honored with the Director of Honors and Student of Course awards at that location. Officer Woods has a diverse professional background, having excelled in various roles such as professional plumber, forklift technician, service writer, mechanic at Land Rover, and even held retail jobs working with the public, showcasing his versatility and adaptability. Officer Woods met his wife in 2016, his wife Morgan, and they were married in 2018. He met two influential police officers in life who encouraged him to pursue a career in law enforcement. And we met both of those officers this morning. One of them is one of our own investigator, Garabedian. With an unwavering support of his family and the love and encouragement from his wife, Officer Woods had committed himself to his new career path, where he was a squad leader and mentor to his academy, at his academy class as well. Officer Woods and his wife find joy in spending time out in the desert, on the lake, at the river, completing home improvement projects he also enjoys, which sometimes those aren't so enjoyable, are they? So, they also actively contribute to their community by helping neighbors with repair issues. And this obviously showcases Officer Wood's caring and helpful nature. So thank you for making the switch to law enforcement. That's a big change at that point in your life. So we do appreciate you joining us. I give you Officer Joel Wood. And thank you. That concludes our introduction of the new officers. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak on any item that's not on the agenda, or if it's one of the consent calendar items that's currently on the agenda. You'll have a total of 5 minutes to speak. The council can't address on anything that's not on the agenda. And I'll ask the city clerk if she's got any speakers.
All right, our first speaker is Christian Nava.
Hello, how you doing?
Hello, hi, thank you. My name is Christian Nava. I am a Montclair resident, and I'm here to talk to you about a pressing social issue. No, it's not about COVID-19, and no, it's not about climate control. It's about removing barriers to participation for people with developmental disabilities. Did you know that people with disabilities receive many services due to the Latterman Act? Many of the services are paid for by the state and federal monies from the Federal Center of Medicaid and Medicare Centers, which is also known as CMS. Therefore, California must comply with what is called Home and Community-Based Services Final Rule, also known as HCBS. The final rule sets requirements for HCBS settings, which is where people live or receive services. So this is an extraordinary time for people because they're receiving a lot more choices on where to live, where they can work, how they can receive their services. And how can we improve our social and economic inclusion and equity of community members with developmental disabilities? Now, Montclair is a community that cares. I've been living here for a long time, so I know that. So it's up to us to create a more accessible and inclusive society so people can thrive in our communities. Thank you.
Much.
Did you also have another item to speak on?
Oh, you have an item you want to speak on the consent calendar, I believe, item C. I'm sorry?
C3.
C3, did you want to talk about item C3 on the consent calendar as well at the same time? You have another 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay, yes. So this is for the contract that's in place for janitorial services that a day program has received. From what I know, the day program has like this infinity amount of time that they're able to perform this service. So I like to request for you to consider an addendum or a revisions on the contract to allow other organizations to participate in the opportunity for employment. Since they are receiving more options, equal access to information and opportunities for people with disabilities. Equal access and opportunities for people with disabilities is crucial. Encouraging them to employment and explore the employment life cycle with your agency is a huge benefit and experience that we don't want people to miss out on. We have about 6 state programs and 6 residential settings, and also 5 programs that provide services to people with developmental disabilities in the city of Montclair already. So I think that if we just provide a contract duration, also include communication preferences, because we do have different styles of communications with people with disabilities. And also, the employee life cycle isn't just a process, it's a chance for growth and shaping the workplace that's all about teamwork, support, and mutual respect. Montclair can be the community pillar of inclusion by maximizing opportunity and choices for individuals, promoting community integration by making sure individuals have full access to community as anyone else, maximizing the level of interaction to peoples without disabilities, and how to avoid creating a setting dedicated just for people with disabilities and their staff. Now, being a part of a community, being part of a healthy community can help us feel connected to each other, as well as feeling like we are a part of something that's bigger than ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Andrea.
Mayor, point of order. The item is agendized, so therefore we can discuss this issue. I'd like to ask some follow-up questions, but if you'd prefer, we do so under pulled consent
Yeah,
calendar items.
we'll do on a pull consent
Okay,
count.
thank you.
Yeah, at that time be appropriate. Go ahead, Andrea.
Okay, Xavier Mendez.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro
Good evening,
Tem,
sir. How you doing?
City Council, I'm doing wonderful.
How are the bikes?
City Manager, I'm sorry, what?
How are the bicycles?
Oh, bicycles are amazing.
Good.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Get out there and ride.
All right.
First off, the agenda, don't have anything to talk about on the agenda. It looks pretty cut and dry, and that's good. Just one thing I wanted to bring up. I wanted to bring it up on the 17th, but I thought it was just too soon. I'm sure some of you have heard about the loss of Jesse Alba, who is Liz Alba's husband of many years, passed away on June 17th. Jesse, his 2 boys are Steve and Mickey Alba, the skateboarders who are both in the Skateboard Hall of Fame. His wife, Liz, I think has done a lot for our city of Montclair. I'm sure I've heard her name many a times in different programs. They've lived in the city of Montclair since 1962, over off of Kingsley Avenue, just west of Benson, so between Delmar and Benson right there on the north side across from, Kingsley Elementary. I just want to see if tonight, possibly if you could close the meeting in Jesse Alba's memory, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I talked to the family and they would be very, very appreciative of it. His services are going to be next Friday at Draper, I believe at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But just wanted to pass that on to
Yeah,
you
we'll
guys.
adjourn the memory of Jesse Alba. We'll just, if you can give Andrea the information, probably
Yeah.
the spelling, or she has.
I think I already gave her most
You
of
already
it.
gave it to her? Perfect then. Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
I'll get her some more. All right, thank you.
thank you.
All right, next speaker is Veronica Millman.
Hello again.
Good evening, Mayor Dutray, Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, council members, staff, and residents. I'm Veronica Milliman, ambassador for the Montclair Chamber of Commerce. I would like to share a few upcoming events with you. So the next networking breakfast is scheduled for July 11th at 8:30, held at Oak Park right here in Montclair. It's a great opportunity for you to meet in local businesses. We're excited that Panera Bread is finally opening. We would love for you to join us for the grand opening ribbon cutting ceremony, which is scheduled for Wednesday, July 17th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please RSVP at events at montclairchamber.com. Our next e-waste event is scheduled for July 27th and 28th, right here at Alman Hoffman Park. The Montclair Chamber is hosting a trip to Italy, scheduled for March. It's an 8-day tour. Some of the flyers I was supposed to bring, but you could reach out to the chamber or visit our social media. Lastly, please mark your calendars for our second annual Night in the Garden that will be held at the Chino Basin Water Conservation District on August 29th at 6 p.m.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, and our last speaker is Carolyn Raft.
Hello, Carolyn.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Ms. Diane, Mr. Starr. I wanted to bring you up to date on the vector control. We have now released sterile mosquitoes in Montclair 2 times. In 2 weeks, we are scheduled for a 3rd time. We have released them in all the surrounding cities like that are under our jurisdiction: Upland, Rancho Cucamonga, Chino Hills, and Montclair right now there is no new virus that has been detected. I hope you've noticed a difference in Montclair. If anyone has any problem, please give the Vector Control a call, and I will give you the number, 909-635-0307, and report it because we do want to hear from you. If anyone has any family or knows anyone in the Coachella Valley, they right now have 111 positive mosquitoes that have tested for West Nile virus. So please, if you know anyone, please advise them of this. But in Montclair, we're doing really good. So, okay,
Perfect.
that's all I have.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Go
may,
ahead.
I have a question for Ms. Raft. I know that you're doing work with the vector control, but I have a question about spiders. It seems like we have an abundance of spiders that we didn't used to have. So, you know, if you in the morning, you go outside with a broom and you sweep down all the spider webs, and by afternoon, they're all back. So is there something that we should be doing about spiders? that should
Yeah,
be
call Vector
concerned?
Control,
Okay,
okay? And they'll come out and take a look at it and see what can be done,
okay. Thank you.
okay? So, anyone else? No?
Yeah, real quickly, Councilwoman Raff. When we call them, will they have the ability to spray? Is that what they'll be able to do?
It depends on what it is, probably, but yes, on a lot of things, they do have the ability to spray. There are certain species like bees and stuff like that, they will not kill, they will catch them and take them and release them elsewhere, but yes, they do have the ability
I thought we
for
were the,
pesticides.
I thought we were the only ones having that experience. They're on our car every morning, and we walk into spider webs constantly.
Well, and unfortunately, as we all know, you get rid of one pest, and sometimes you
Another
do
one.
get another pest.
All right, perfect.
But yeah, please give them a call.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think that's it. Am I correct? All right, next item is public hearings. This is a second reading. I'll open the public hearing for this item. consider adoption ordinance number 24-106 related to ADUs. Do you have any members of the public wish to speak on this item? Doesn't appear to be so. So I'll close the public hearing. Bring the item back to the council. Any comments, or is there a motion? Councilman Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real quickly, to Michael and staff, I very much appreciate the time you put into this, the detailed presentation that you made. I have it in my packet. I pulled it up again. Still have some uneasy things about landscaping and whatnot. I just had one follow-up question in the staff report that you provided to us. Actually, I think it is in the actual ordinance itself. Hold on one sec. It's regarding the 6-foot plant or tree landscaping, and then a wall being able to suffice to meet that requirement. But in the ordinance, it also states that if a wall, I believe if a wall already exists, there was still a requirement for a at least one 15-foot planter near a wall, or is it every 5 linear feet there must be a plant? Did I understand that correctly?
What that means is that if you're going to put in a hedge, you have to put in a certain amount of plant material so you can create the hedge. So that's really what it's referring to as the planting distances or sufficient.
So that's not required if a wall is going to be put up?
No.
Okay, all right. I intend to vote for the measure, and because I know we have several residents that are already wanting to do ADUs or JADUs, so who am I to vote against something that they want to do with their private property? So I'm pleased with it. I know that this is state mandated and we're forced to do it nonetheless. I'll take that up with legislators as far as them handing down mandates on local government. But anyhow, hopefully the residents are aware of this. I'm going to ask, are we going to notify residents about the change and that they have free rein to go ahead and start submitting applications for those that don't know?
Everybody pretty much knows that ADUs is a possibility, and we get at least 2-3 inquiries every day and at least
Good.
1 or 2 submittals weekly. So
Okay.
it's pretty widespread out there. They just have to, and we'll update the website so they have the current.
Other than just the landscaping requirement, I'm fine with all the other provisions. So, Mr. Mayor, unless there's other speakers after me.
Have Councilman
Okay,
Ruse
I'll refrain.
speak.
First of all, I am supportive of this. I've had some questions, but most of them have been answered. I will say this, as far as the state mandate, without state mandates on housing, there will be no housing. Cities just only want it for the big fancy homes and for the well-to-do. And SB 9 simply allows an alternative that somebody can voluntarily do with their property to increase housing. In fact, most SB 9 units are being inhabited by a family member. So this is, I think, a positive for our city. And unless there are other questions, I'd like to make a motion for the item as presented tonight to be read by title and number only.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lopez, and we'll go ahead and do electronic vote. And there's that. It's adopted 5-0. So we will now go over the consent calendars,
Should I
and
read the ordinance?
go for it.
Ordinance number 24-1006, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Montclair adopting zoning code amendment number 2024-21 to repeal and replace Chapter 11.23 of the Montclair Municipal Code relating to accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units in the City of Montclair, and determining the ordinance to be exempt from CEQA.
Thank you. Now we'll do the consent calendar, and I'll start with my right. Any pulls on my right?
Mr. Mayor, C3.
C3? Okay. And then on my left? And I think you have two, Denise?
Nothing for me. Carissa? Nothing for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I have 2 items I'd like to pull from the consent calendar. One is C1, and I'd like to recuse myself from that issue because of my connection with the Chamber of Commerce, but I do have one tiny little edit. I noticed it on page 26 of our packet, which is page 5 of 5 for the contract. The Montclair Chamber of Commerce address is no longer on Benson Avenue. So we
Okay.
just need to make that
That
small
will be
change.
corrected.
But other than that, I am recusing myself from that discussion. And also, item C7, because of the Montclair Chamber strong partnership with the Small Business Development Center,
Perfect.
I'm recusing myself from that one as well.
Okay. Item C3. Ben?
Yeah, just to follow up, Ms. Nava, if you're fine coming to the podium, I want to, you confuse me, and the item, hold on one second. It's to renew an existing contract with Antisis that has been providing services to the city, janitorial services, for quite some time. It's my understanding that Antisis is a nonprofit organization that provides job opportunities, training, and whatnot for individuals with disabilities of varying kinds. You made a comment that we provide services already. Are you talking about an organization that you're with, that you're?
I'm referring to other organizations that also provide work experience for people with disabilities. I'm sure that's a great work program, but there are many others, programs that also provide the same type of services to individuals with developmental disabilities. So it would be denying other people the opportunity to experience the employment work life with your department.
Okay, Mr. City Manager, could you please kindly explain the process by which the city, basically, I want to know if we went to bid for this, or if we've done that before, or if we're even obligated to do so. But could you share how we go about securing the contract, renewing it, why we've used Antisis? Because I don't want there to be this perception that somehow other organizations have been excluded.
Well, the normal process is that when we go out to select a vendor to provide a service with the city, we would go out to bid. And we would solicit sometimes requests for qualifications, and then once that ROQ comes in, then we will go out to request for bids to determine from those qualified entities whether or not they are going to be willing to submit a bid, and if they do, then we evaluate the bids, determine based on California law, the lowest bidder, presuming that they appropriately respond to all of the requirements related to the bid, and then the contract is awarded. We would enter into agreement with that particular vendor, and then there are typically provisions within the agreement that allow for annual renewals for a certain period of time, which is certainly the case with the antithesis contract that allows for annual renewals, presuming that they continue to meet the required qualifications. Then, after a period of time, typically 5 years, 10 years, we would reopen it for reconsideration of other vendors to bid, and I don't believe that we're there yet at that point in time with this particular vendor. I'd have to go back to look and see how long the contract has been, but usually we would keep a particular vendor in place for a number of years, which is why we would not be, at this particular time, opening up. This would be an automatic extension or renewal of an existing agreement with modification related to certain cost components that the vendor may be asking for, or they are authorized under the language that is in the current contract. So with that extension, which is what this essentially is, an extension, then that contract would continue, presuming that the council is pleased with the level of services that is being provided. And again, in this particular contract, there is a slight increase based on the hourly rate of pay. So there would be a slight increase in the contract. And from all other perspectives, the contract appears to be acceptable. The police department is very satisfied with the level of service that the vendor is providing. The vendor met all of the qualifications under the city's contract requirements related to liability and other issues, which frankly a lot of vendors sometimes can't meet which certainly goes into the consideration as to whether or not we're going to offer or extend a contract to a particular vendor. But we will evaluate in the future as to when we would need to go out and look at alternative bidding process for vendors related to providing custodial services to the police department. But right now, we are asking the city council to consider the contract that is before them.
So, Mrs. Nava, your points are not falling on deaf ears. I just wanted you to understand the process as to why we're continuing our relationship with Antisis. As the city manager explained, when the contract extensions are up, or whether it's a 5-year or another set term, he'd have to look at the initial contract. When that's open up for bid, the organizations that you are comfortable with, by all means, encourage them to submit a bid, and if they meet requirements, they'll be considered. Okay?
Right.
All right, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I get a vote on the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor, I will move the adoption of the consent calendar as presented.
I will second it.
Okay, we have a move and seconded by Councilmember Rue, and we'll go ahead and do electronic vote.
Okay, is this noting,
Oh, okay, let's do this. I forgot about that. Let's make if the maker of the motion can agree that we will leave out items C1 and C7 for a separate
Absolutely.
vote. So this does not include items C1, C7, and now it's include electronic vote. Okay, that's adopted 5-0. Now we'll have a separate vote on items C1 and C7, noting the abstention, recusal from Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, and I'll say that this, go ahead, motion? Same two motions from the other previous persons. So with that, we have 4-0-1. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson recusing herself. So now we will do the communications, and we'll start with the police department. And I guess he's going to unload some fireworks in the room tonight. Show us how they work, the illegal ones.
Now, hopefully there'll be no sparks flying tonight.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody, again. My presentation will be a presentation on the 4th of July efforts from the Montclair Police Department, what we're seeing as a police department. I'll talk about some statistics quickly, a little public service announcement regarding the dangers of fireworks, our enforcement efforts, and I'll end with actually a list of some places that people may go in San Bernardino County to actually watch a legal fireworks show. So again, it's that time of year again where, you know, if you live anywhere in the city of Montclair, you may hear fireworks being ignited and set off within our city limits and even outside of our city limits as the sound does travel into Montclair sometimes. I'll talk quickly about some of our calls for service numbers. I get asked a lot how the numbers compare this year to others. From May 1st of 23 until July 10th of 23 last year, we received 206 calls for service total. This year, from that same amount of time, we're very similar. As far as, because we like to collect the stats till after the 4th of July, but we've received 54 calls for service so far this year, so it's about 47 versus 54. It's about the same number. Again, a couple of years ago during the pandemic is when we saw some of our worst firework activity in the city, so we're happy to report things seem to slow down. But this year, with the deployment of the police department and the special enforcement team, we have some more robust approach to dealing with illegal fireworks. But before I talk about that, I want to just take a brief excerpt from the city's website on the dangers of fireworks for anyone out there that may be listening. It's more than just the sound they create, it's the injuries they cause and the fire hazards. According to the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, and the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission 2018 fireworks annual report, the most recent year firework available, 62% of annual fireworks related injuries occurred during the period between the 22nd of June and July 22nd. Injuries and damage related to fireworks include several things. Fireworks estimated 19,500 fires they create every year in the state, including federally, 1,900 structure fires, 500 vehicle fires, 17,100 outside and other fires. They're involved in an estimated 9,100 injuries treated in the U.S. hospitals throughout that year. 5,600 fireworks-related injuries were treated in the U.S. hospital emergency room departments. And here's some interesting stats. I'll end with this for statistics. Children younger than 15 years of age accounted for 36% of the estimated injuries. 10 to 14 years of age had the highest estimated rate of emergency department treated fireworks-related injuries, 5.2 injuries per 100,000 people. Older teens, 15 to 19 years of age, had the second highest estimated rate, 3.1 injuries per 100,000 people. And again, some of the fireworks that people seem, the illegal fireworks that people seem to not tend to cause harm, also known as firecrackers, estimated 1,000 emergency room department treated related injuries associated with those. So the list goes on and on. Again, not only is it a nuisance for noise ordinances and fire hazards, the safety aspect of it and the injuries the fireworks may cause, especially from unregulated illegal fireworks, the danger is present. So I want to talk a little bit about ways to how we respond to these types of incidents. Of course, we receive multiple calls for fireworks every year. You can always call 911 if it's an emergency. You can call our dispatch number at 909-621-4771. We also have a firework reporting portal. I've left a flyer up front which has a QR code which takes you directly to the City of Montclair website where you can report fireworks use online. And I'll talk a little bit about the success of that portal. And I want to remind the citizens and members of Montclair that all fireworks are prohibited in Montclair, whether they're safe and sane or whether they're illegal, they're explosive, mortars, every firework. No, there's no lawful use of fireworks in the City of Montclair. The only caveat, and we do get asked this a lot, is can you possess safe and sane fireworks in Montclair if you choose to use them in a city where they are allowed? The answer to that is yes, as long as there's a fire marshal endorsement on the packaging. So we do get asked that. If I buy some, but I plan to set them off somewhere where it's legal, can I possess them? Yes. But if you do set off even safe and sane fireworks in the City of Montclair, you're subject to a $1,000 fine at bare minimum. So going back to some of our enforcement efforts, I know there's a little bit of frustration sometimes with the public where they call, and sometimes we'll receive multiple calls at the same time regarding fireworks. A loud explosion will go off. We'll receive sometimes 8, 10 calls. We do respond to all these calls for service. A lot of times callers are anonymous, which is totally acceptable, but sometimes we can't do much follow-up with anonymous. I urge the public that when they do call, if they see something occurring, rather than just hearing it, make sure you gather that information so we can pinpoint our response location. So back to our enforcement efforts. Our SET team, our special enforcement team, which is a full-time team now, has been conducting enforcement of fireworks and sales, illegal sales. We're proud to announce that they have made so far 2 arrests for felony charges for undercover operations for purchasing illegal fireworks, and these are the dangerous explosive fireworks, over 400 pounds of explosives. And these aren't, these aren't the ones that you buy at the stand. These are dangerous fireworks. So they are out there working the sales end of it. And remember, the sales of it, of course, is dangerous for members of the public to get a hold of the fireworks. However, if you remember, it's also, the danger is inherent in the individuals that choose to illegally sell them. They store them in their house. They're unstable. If we all remember, a few years ago in a neighboring city, there was a very large explosion related to fireworks with some fatalities. So we commend their efforts. They're still out there as we speak working these sales cases as well. Officers who come across fireworks will issue citations when appropriate or arrests when appropriate, depending on the type of crime that you're associated with, whether it be safe and sane fireworks or whether it be the felony possession of the dangerous fireworks as well. The portal has been paramount in our, the reporting portal has been paramount in the information that we've obtained, and even on some of these arrests. So I encourage that when you fill that out, it's a very easy application to use, that you continue providing that information, because our SET team does monitor that portal as well, and has made enforcement and arrests and for illegal sales just off the portal alone. And again, you can be anonymous if you want to report anonymous firework activity as well. Please plan ahead with your pets. Check on members of the community who may suffer from an ailment where loud noises will affect them. But again, I want to urge the public not to hesitate to call us. Sometimes it may seem that we didn't respond, but we do area checks on sounds heard. I also urge the public not to approach those involved in the lighting illegal fireworks. There may be a criminal element to it. There may be the chance of getting injured by one of the mortars falling over or striking you. So again, always call us, let us make the contact. We are also working closely with code enforcement. Code enforcement has a schedule. They're out there working side by side with us, responding to calls for service every night from now through the 4th of July. So their efforts are very helpful for us as well. And I want to remind callers that don't hesitate to report if the subject set off fireworks or they're lighting them and then they leave, but we can pinpoint a location or an address. We have a separate advisal form that we leave at the residence. It puts the resident on notice that we are aware of firework activity at the location, whether or not we may have caught somebody doing it. But we have found even a couple of years ago that these forms are very helpful. It outlines the number of charges and fines you might be subjected to, but it also alerts the homeowner that maybe there's someone at their house, a juvenile or somebody, lighting these fireworks off when the homeowner or when the adults aren't home or when the person responsible, so at least they know that something occurred at their residence, and we found those to be valuable and effective. We do get callbacks on those. Hey, why did we get left a notice? What happened? And we'll explain to them what happened, and a lot of times we get cooperation from the adults or the property owner on those types of calls for service. I do want to talk a little bit about where members of the community, if I can get off my soapbox for law enforcement, but where members of the community can watch some fireworks shows, and there's multiple areas in San Bernardino County that they may be able to do that, if I have the information here. The Orange County Register published a great article on all the locations where they're being set off. So, you know, I might apologize. Oh, here we go. These are cities in the city of, or in the San Bernardino County: Redlands, Rialto, San Bernardino, Upland. I'll talk about the close cities because some of their fireworks shows, the gates open at 4 o'clock, and of course at nightfall some of these shows do occur. We do receive a tremendous amount of calls when the local shows do light their sanctioned fireworks off, because sometimes there'll be grand finales or what have you. And I do notice that even though they're outside of our city limits, we do receive a lot of calls for those. So it's just something to be mindful of. Sometimes they are legal shows that are causing the noise. Beautiful Lake Arrowhead, Ontario has another event, a couple of places that they're doing it. So again, if you look up the article on the Orange County Register, they published a lot of places where if you choose to watch fireworks, which a lot of people are excited by them, and go do it at a safe and sane place to do so. So again, we will have extra patrols out on the night of especially on the 4th of July. We'll have our set team working. Our set team will be high visibility. Prior to that, they may be still doing some undercover stuff, but we won't share that information. So we'll have extra officers holding over from prior shifts if needed. So our deployment will be there to address the calls for service, whether they be loud explosives, safe and sane. Sometimes we have gunshot calls, or people will mistake calls for gunshots. Just my message is, don't hesitate to call. We do log all of the calls. We do send officers out on area checks for all calls for service. But if you see something occurring, make sure you give us that additional information, descriptions of people, something like that, so we can further address the issue. And I'll end on, sometimes we've noticed that some people are lighting fireworks off at locations other than their residences. They choose to go illegally to some of the wash areas and the parks. We're on notice on that, and we've been working those areas as well. Sometimes it doesn't always occur at the residence where the players are involved in this. So,
Well, thank you very much, Chief, and I appreciate all the hard work staff is doing, the advertisement, getting the message out, the extra patrols, and everything else. Obviously, this is an issue that's not easily enforceable for different reasons, but we are trying our best, get the message out to the public, and I think we're doing a really good job compared to what other cities are doing on this issue, on this challenging issue to enforce. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anybody else?
Quick question, Chief. You had
Yes.
stated in your comments that when you mentioned these safe and sane fireworks and having the fire marshal sticker on the packaging, you said that they would receive, even if they shoot them off here within the city limits, a $1,000 fine bare minimum. I thought that was the max.
Well, when I refer to I'm not referring to the fine, I'm referring to possible other charges criminal charges which may apply, whether it be a fire-related charge, whether it be disturbing the peace, which is a misdemeanor. I didn't mean the fine starts at 1,000. I meant that if minimally you can receive an administrative citation if you're lucky for $1,000. It only gets worse from there, especially if there's child endangerment involved and other things like that.
No, as my prior comments every year on this, I'm fine with the stiff penalties on the matter. But thank you for everything that you and the officers are doing. Thank you for your recent communication to us. Appreciate it. And convey our thanks to the officers on the ground. I will say this, though, hopefully for the public that's watching, many times on social media, as the 4th is taking place, folks will say, I called the line and they haven't shown up and it's been 20, 30 minutes. The public needs to understand the high volume of calls that come in after 9 o'clock. We only have so many officers that can respond to certain calls. And of course, we have to look at the severity of the description of the call and prioritize them. But the public needs to understand that the PD will eventually get there. They're doing their best to answer all calls, but it's a matter of priority and given the nature of the call. But I appreciate that. And the public just needs to be a little bit patient. You guys are doing the best you can with the resources you have and the manpower. And many times we get tons of calls, so I appreciate it. Thank you. It's not lost on me.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure if actually the police department did this or if the public works department did this, but I really want to commend who put out all of those signs and like overnight, it seems like. So when
that was believe Public Works.
I'm not sure who did. Whoever did it, kudos to them.
Yes.
I have been in other cities, and once every 6 blocks or so, they might have one sign. But if you're traveling in some Montclair streets, you can't get a block without seeing 2 or 3 of them. So, what I particularly like about them is it's, the number to call is easily viewable on the sign, and people know what to do to report. So whoever put up those signs, good job.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, Councilmember Rue.
Yes, and Chief, first of all, thank you for doing the research on the different places where residents can see fireworks. I know Cable Airport is having a show. Pomona College Stadium, there will be a show. I believe there's one down in the Walnut area. Ontario has one, so probably the 3 closest, Pomona College, Cable, Ontario, and then I believe it's Walnut or Mount Sac, somewhere in that area. But there's a lot of them around, so people can go and see them that way. Safe and sane fireworks, just because they say they aren't necessarily, and they're still not permitted in the city. And I appreciate the effort you make. You could have one officer in every single neighborhood, and you're still not going to be able to respond to all of the people, because by the time somebody sets one off, they're gone, and you've got to try to track them down. So the best thing is just do not set off fireworks. We do understand there will be fireworks from neighboring areas that, where they're legal, shows in Ontario, Claremont, Upland, maybe a few other places, and they're legal, and we're going to have some calls on those, but that's to be expected. And as you said earlier, please take care of your pets, because I'm already having my dogs upset by a little bit that's going off. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'll just add that, piggybacking on Councilmember Lopez, yes, law enforcement not always is a first call, first served profession due to priority. The vast number of calls, logs that I have from last year, when the officers did respond, the area was quiet. So sometimes, it may not be right away that we respond, but by the time we get there, we disposition the call as area quiet. So the caller can always request that we make contact at the front door, and we'll do that. But if they just call and say, hey, I heard something over here, can you send somebody? That doesn't necessarily mean an officer will make contact at the front door, but you can always ask for that service, and we'll provide that service.
Perfect. Okay, now we'll go with Human Services Department.
Great, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, I just wanted to invite you to join us for our upcoming concerts in the park and movies. Our next one will be tomorrow evening, July 2nd at 7 p.m. We'll have the Queen of Hearts Band. They'll be performing some country music. Then the following week on Tuesday, July 9th at 8 p.m., join us for the movie Migration. That's the one with the little ducks. It is a cute one. So all concerts and movies are going to be held at Alma Hoffman Park. They're open to the public, free of charge. Our splash pad will be open till 8 p.m. Each of those evenings. So bring your friends, family, blankets, lawn chairs for a delightful summer evening in the park. Food trucks will be selling your favorite food and snacks. We'll also have free children's activities. And for more information, please contact our Human Services Department at 909-625-9479, and we hope to see you there.
Thank you very much. City Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just the one item is indicated, and that's for the council to meet in closed session regarding labor negotiations with our designated labor negotiator, Mr. Starr. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you very much. First of all, we have vacancies or appointments being made to the Community Activities Commission. And there's a recommendation by the commission to, by the committee, the selection committee of, that was made up of Councilmember Martinez, Councilmember Bill Rue, and I think one of the Community Activities Commissioners served on it as well. I think it was Richard Escalante. So the recommendation of the committee is to reappoint Arturo Padilla and Diane Wells. And then the third candidate is appointment of a new person, Hector Martinez. And their schedules will begin on July 1. So I'll accept those nominations. I'll actually forward those nominations to the City Council, and I'll make the, move the nomination. Can I get a second nomination?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Bill Rue, and let's all vote electronically. That's adopted 5-0. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, who's the member no longer joining the committee? Did we lose someone?
Marcia?
Yes, that was Alex Hernandez.
Oh.
So he is kind of in between jobs, and he's been having to commute from Texas. So it's been a little difficult, and he just is married and has a baby on the way. So he still wants to be involved, but he cannot commit to the monthly meetings.
Could we acknowledge him at a future meeting and thank him?
Yes, that will be, that's scheduled to happen at our July 15th meeting.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I misspoke earlier. I said labor negotiations, and it's actually real property
Yeah, real property
negotiations.
negotiations, yeah. Okay, we'll move on right along. So I just want to recognize during the month of July, today is Canada Day. Obviously, I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July as we celebrate this nation's birthday on Independence Day. If you're French, July 14 is Bastille Day. It's also the anniversary of John and Anne Dutré. I have no idea who they are. And it also, during the month of July, is National Parents' Day. I just want to recognize that I today did it right along with code enforcement, that we spent this morning dealing with the transit population in Montclair. And obviously, part of this too, or not part of this, but I think you all know there was a ruling by the Supreme Court when it came to homeless individuals camping in public spaces or public parks or streets. And I suspect that we will get more information as the attorneys try to dissect what the Supreme Court did. I also want to recognize I attended Assemblyman Rodriguez's annual barbecue that he had, and I just want to pinpoint some Montclair residents or employees that were recognized. And one is Paul Malcara. He was a U.S. Army. He was a Veteran of the Year from Montclair, and obviously Paul's also a former City of Montclair employee and a current volunteer and a senior citizen. Also, a Woman of the Year, Alyssa Kolinga. She is our Assistant Director of Human Services and Grant Manager. Educator of the Year, Eddie Greenan. He's a school teacher with Montclair High School. And, of course, Small Business of the Year was Brothers Clothing Company at the corner of Holt in Central Avenue. Let me see. Monte Vista Avenue. So what you see there now is temporary. Edison still needs to come out. Hopefully either this week or next week, Edison will come out. And then once Edison has done their thing, the temporary striping, they'll put permanent striping in. They'll finish all the paving. So the goal is, the target date is still July 15 to have all that done, but currently I think some of the improvements they've done there will help the circulation at Monte Vista Avenue. And that's all I have, and I'll start with Councilmember Bill Rue. And before you go, Bill, I just again want to recognize, we'll close this meeting in memory of Jesse Alba.
And on that note, Liz Alba was one of our commissioners for many years here. She did a good job. I too will start with the barbecue. It was a very well-done event, one of the better attended ones the Assembly member has held. You heard the names of the nominees: Alyssa Kalunga, Paul Malacara, Eddie Geenan, and then, of course, Brothers Clothing, that's Brian, and they all do a great job. Many other local businesses and people were recognized. In fact, from Ontario, it was Sue Ovitt from the OMSD board, and others. I could go on with the whole list. It was wonderful to be there. Great afternoon, a little bit hot, but it was the last one the Assemblyman will be doing, as he is termed out this year, but I thank him for everything he's done, and he's really tried to help this city. Gold Line, the LA Metropolitan the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, otherwise known as MTA, has designated the Gold Line extension from Pomona to Claremont as its #1 priority. With the approval of the funding, the San Bernardino County Transportation Agency will be required to commit allocated funding to extend the Gold Line from Claremont to the Montclair Transit Center. This is good news. This is what we have been waiting for. We will continue to monitor this, but it is what we've wanted. And I know I will personally thank some of the legislators who started this. I will be seeing Assemblyman Holden up the next 4 weeks on something, and thank him. He is pretty much he calls himself the godfather of the Gold Line, and I appreciate his efforts that started many, many years ago on it. It's important for us. It's important for the community. It's important for the region. On this day, July 1st, in 1863, the Battle of Gettysburg began. One of the most significant battles in the Civil War, and one that led to one of the greatest speeches ever given, Abraham Lincoln and the Gettysburg Address. On the 22nd, I attended the alleyway cleanup. It is the alleyway north of San Bernardino, near Marion, between off of Central, and many residents in that community participated in the cleanup. A lot of work was done that day. These are wonderful, hardworking families. They came out to help as best they could. One man did say to me, "Oh, well, I have to go to work." And I said, "That's fine. We appreciate what you can do." Another gentleman was out there painting his fence. He needed the ability to have paint and a brush to go do it. Some of these families are really, really struggling. He made the fence. It looked wonderful when he was done, and he was very proud of his work. Burtech was there. They were helping to get a lot of this done. You know, I can be critical of a business, but I'm also supportive when they're doing the right thing, and I really appreciate what they were doing that day. Their crew was out there really helping straighten things out, get things done. Residents were happy. I started at about 7:45, and I think I ended about 1 or 1:30 that day. It went really well, and I appreciate the effort put forward by the city and everybody else. Other than that, I can go on all night with different things going on, but I wish everybody a happy 4th of July. Spend it in the way you feel is the most appropriate, but please don't put off any fireworks. Even if you're in a community that allows it, there's a lot of danger in fireworks. And if they're not, well, just put it this way, go to a professional show. You'll have as much fun. They're not that expensive. Some of them are $10, $15, and you can really be able to enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One thing I forgot, I'm not going to be here the first meeting in August. I want to be out of town that day. In fact, I'll be flying to Switzerland that day, but, so I will not be here the first meeting in August, and Mr. Councilmember Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too attended Assemblymember Freddie Rodriguez's last barbecue this past Saturday. As my colleague, Mr. Rue, mentioned, this is his last because after 12 years, the Assemblyman is term limited. And he gave a very, he always hosts a very well-attended program, but as Bill alluded to, this one was attended more so, and fun was had by all. But I also want to thank Senator Susan Rubio, who represents us, from attending as well. And what I took note of immediately is that every PD that is in the 53rd Assembly District was represented there as well. So thank you, Montclair PD, for showing up. I believe Officer Hidalgo and Calvillo were there, so I appreciate them representing Montclair PD. But every PD from the 5 cities within the district that were there, are there 5 cities now, or did they change it to 6? I don't recall. But I will also piggyback on thanking, or congratulating rather, Eddie Geenan for Educator of the Year representing Montclair, Brothers Clothing, our very own Alyssa Kalunga, and again, our very own Paul Malacara for their special recognition and awards, very well deserved by all. So Montclair was definitely well represented and thanked and recognized, so we appreciate that. Of course, as both the mayor and my colleague, Mr. Rue, had mentioned, of course, in 3 days, we will celebrate the 248th birthday of this nation. I'm not quite the historian like Bill is, but I want to mention that shortly after exiting the Constitutional Convention that started this whole thing that we call America and democracy, he was asked when he left that convention by a woman who was waiting anxiously, Mr. Franklin, what do we have as a government? And his response was, a republic if you can keep it. And the last few words are very important, because this republic and this democracy, though we take it for granted, is not guaranteed, as we have seen. And it was Thomas Jefferson that said that every now and then, I'm paraphrasing, the tree of liberty, which is in reference to this nation, must be watered with the blood of patriots. And we must be vigilant in defending our principles. And I'm not talking our internal politics. I'm talking us as a nation to the rest of the world from outside forces that would wish to attack us. This experiment called democracy has lasted the test of time so far for 248 years, and we're one of the youngest nations in the world, believe it or not, and we're still going strong because of the tenacity of all of us banding together and fighting for this thing that we call America. So on the 4th, celebrate, do so wisely, celebrate with friends, family, but remember the veterans, remember everybody that has sacrificed and given their all for our freedom and the right for us to live daily the way we do. And then just on a personal note, I rarely comment on personal attacks or things made against me. I don't even think I have in my short 4 years here. But, you know, I understand I have some critics, and that's fine. I signed up for this job, and with it comes criticism, and we take pot shots up here, whether they're justified or not. But when the past 30 hours or so, I haven't had much sleep because Thursday I had a relative die in our family, and I have another one currently in the hospital that we don't know may or may not live. But when certain individuals in town want to use that as a means to say some pretty mean things, that somehow I deserve it, and somehow this is what he gets, you know, I think it says more about the hate that person has than the so-called hate that I'm being accused of. So yeah, just in this city, let's just show a little bit of concern and some empathy towards those who are going through hell at times. And it would be appreciated, because I have certainly extended that to everybody in this city that I've represented, whether they've agreed with me or not, whether they've been at the podium talking bad at me or not. And I've risen above politics as best I can. And I think those of us in this city need to continue to do that. But anyhow, I move on. All but for the grace of God go I, and go with our family, and without him and his strength, we push on. But it's been a challenging past 3-4 days, but anyhow, here we are. But I just wanted to bring that up because I just think it's uncalled for and it shouldn't happen. But anyways, thank you.
Great. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Mr. Mayor, all is quiet on the Johnson front.
No fireworks, right? All right, no barbecue too, right? Okay, Councilmember Martinez.
Yeah, just quickly for anyone who has kids or knows kids, for the next few weeks, the Montclair Library has some fun summer events, and you can find information about it on the San Bernardino County website. They have family story time, some books and crafts, and some visitors. My son saw an armadillo just last week, and he hasn't stopped talking about it. Also, the Chino Basin Water Conservation District has some summer programming events. Water Wednesdays at 10 o'clock, that's lasting until July 24th. So go ahead and see that before it's too late. It should be fun.
Thank you. We have some committee minutes and agenda, and now we will go in closed session. Thank you.